Um, so just one of the big things and where I'm going to start is with the actual presentation. I'm starting with answering the phone and just some of the things that when you're selling over the phone, it's a lot more difficult than I say it's a little more challenging than selling in the house. You know, one of the pluses, one of the benefits is that you don't have to spend all the money in fuel and you can talk to a lot more people. But there's a lot that people can't see on the other end, which is your body language and things like that. So because of that, you're depending on your voice to really tell the whole story, and that means that your voice is more valuable than somebody out in the field. So it's very important. One of the things that I'm gonna do with you guys is I'm gonna actually send you some of your recordings, so so you can actually listen to yourself. And some people,
Oh,
you
I
if you
hate to
ever listen
laugh.
to yourself on a recording, your first thing you always say is that doesn't sound like me. Well, surprise, surprise, that actually sounds exactly like you. So if you don't like how it sounds, you ought to change something. But one of the things, because you're on the phone, you really, really have to focus on voice inflections. And it's really something that you have to practice because your voice inflection gives you a lot of control. So someone can say to you on the phone, perfect example. And you when you're listening to your phone calls, you're gonna when you're listening to your phone calls, you're gonna hear how much of a difference you didn't make as far as an impact if you stay monotone or whatever the case may be. One of the things that I always tell appointment setters is it doesn't matter what the person's answer is, you're excited about it. It does not matter. So if someone said it doesn't matter, and you control that with voice inflection. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that. So I'll give you a perfect example. I'm trying to think of some examples now, but one of the good examples that I can think of is if someone says to you, so you're doing a benefit review. You're looking at their plan, and their plan is very similar to the other plan, except for in one area. So when you're looking at Medicare Advantage plans in particular, let's talk about those for a second. So the Medicare Advantage plans, they all have the same allotment as far as funds that they can spend, and then they actually get penalized if they don't spend a certain percentage of that. I don't know what it is now. Before I think it was 85%. They have to allocate towards their beneficiaries or their clients, whatever members. And if they don't, they get penalized for it. So it's not a matter of does this plan have this amount of dollars, this company have this amount of dollars. It's a matter of did this company choose to spend it on diabetic supplies or did this company choose to spend it on a gym membership?
I thought their reimbursements were more if their star ratings were higher.
That may be the case.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But in general, if you're looking at the actual plans, the makeup of the plans, they're pretty much the skeleton is pretty much the same. They just put more funds here versus more funds here.
Hmm.
And the difference isn't very drastic. So if someone's paying $0 copay for their primary care physician, then that plan likely doesn't have even preventive drug benefits. And I'll see that sometimes with plans in different areas where they don't have any preventive, no vision, no anything. It's just all health. But because they did that, they cut benefits there, so they're allowed to cut the copay at the doctor's office. And so when you're looking at that, and that's why it's very important to do the need analysis, and I'm going to voice inflection for a second, but before I go there, I'm gonna stay here on this need analysis thing. Is when we're selling, we have to go through feature, function, benefits, and it's important that we are selling benefits. Or you hear some people say sell the need. So a lot of times we get caught up in selling the features of the plan, but we have no idea what the person needs. So I've listened to phone calls and I've heard a presentation on a product and we didn't even know what the person had, what their insurance was. Or we had an idea but we weren't real sure. And you have resources like Medicare.gov. You can always go in and get their Medicare number, go to Medicare.gov, find out exactly what they have. So keep this in mind when, from a credibility standpoint, um, I'll use dating as an example. The way the systems are set up, the way the system is set up as it pertains to the live transfers, It is like the perfect wingman ever. So, you and I had a conversation. We were talking about dating, whether it's easier or harder. Whether it's easier or harder. If you got someone introducing you, or you got to do all the work yourself, right? Well, it's more difficult if you have to do all the work yourself. But with the live transfers, they're doing the work for you. So let me give you the perception here. The perception is this: someone gets a phone call, they hit one because someone said, "Dude, would you like to speak with an expert about Medicare benefits?" They hit one and they're expecting to speak to an expert. Now, if you get on the phone as the expert and you have no idea what you're talking about, you're starting to lose credibility. But here's the thing, it's not that you have to know all things, it's just this. The perception is this. They hit one, they're expecting to speak with an expert. And because of that, they know that you have to have a certain amount of information about them in order to help them. You ever hear the phrase I can't counsel on a lie? You ever hear a counselor say that I can't counsel on a lie, which means if I don't know the whole truth, then I can't give you advice. Or the advice I give you not gonna apply, it's gonna be wrong. That's why people say there's two sides to a story. If you go off one, But anyhow, so when you get that person on the phone, Miss, thank you for calling the Medicare supplement hotline. This is Daniel. How may I help you? They say da 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 da. Well, Miss Jones, let's take a look at what you have here. Do you have your Medicare A&B? I do. What do you have outside of that? I'm not sure. I think I've got Gun Gun. Oh, I'm not familiar with Gun Gun. I tell you what, we got to take a look at it and figure out exactly what you have. Go ahead with your Medicare number followed by the letter behind it, and we're gonna go. We're gonna pull up your information. Now, here's what I'm trying to tell you. Will it always work that smoothly to where you can get someone's Medicare information that easily? Not always. Sometimes you have to feel the person out, figure out who you're talking to. But I will tell you is if you have a mental block in saying they're not going to give me this information, I will guarantee you they will not give you that information. Because if you sound afraid to ask for it, you now sound sketchy. And if you sound sketchy, they will not give you the information. So you got this perfect wingman in the live transfers. So live transfers setting you up, and they're going, "Hey, I'm gonna put you in contact with an absolute expert. The expert's gonna be able to tell you exactly, give you a quote, tell you what you need, let you know if you're missing anything, etc., etc." If you were to if I was gonna hook Gary up with a girl, I'm gonna put Gary down with the girl, and I introduced her. I'm talking Gary up. He's this, he's that. If Gary starts the conversation with, well, I'm not really that tall and I'm not that good looking and my job's really not that good and my breath really doesn't smell that well. everything that I've done for Gary and building him up, that whole perception that the young lady had before Gary walked over is going down the drain. This is why it's important to find out what the person has, because now if you know what they have, you can go to CSG Actuarial and pull up their plan and you can do a side by side comparison to whatever plans are in their area. You know exactly what's going on with their plans. Or you can go to Medicare.gov, look at the plans in the area. Or if you have a plan name that you're not familiar with, you can Google it, figure out what it is. And there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, Mrs. Prospect, give me 1 second. I'm going to see if I can access the benefits to your plan. And you take the time to pull up that plan. You don't try to talk because when you start padding and doing ums and maybe let's see, all that padding kills your credibility. That's why it's going to be important for us to actually listen to ourselves. I listen to myself talk and I'll say from time to time, and every time you say boom, it's another shot at the credibility. Boom, it's another shot at your credibility. So it's better to say, give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull that up and see if I can access your benefits. And if you can actually access the benefits and go through the benefits from A to Z, you will not have one reason to say because you have it all in front of you. You only say when you're trying to give filler material because you don't know what to say. But if you have it all in front of you, you know exactly what you're doing there. Um, see, I said you see that?
Because you're
But
thinking.
I am thinking.
And a lot of times when you say it's because you are thinking.
Exactly.
That would be another one of the reasons too. So
This is true. We wanna stay away from those words as much as possible. This is one of those things where we've said it for so long, and it's we don't even think about it.
Can I ask a question? So I know we're not supposed to, with those Medicare Advantage plans, we're not supposed to give information unless it's asked for. And when you talk about pulling up the two side by side, how can you how can you compare those if you can't actually give the person any information?
You're talking about doing a Medicare
Med-
Advantage, a
right,
Medicare Advantage plan?
right. Or can you give them, can you pull them up on that website and say, well, I see you're paying $15 for your primary, this plan is 10. I mean, it was my understanding that you can't do that kind of side
I,
by
I
side.
well, okay, so I think, just to make sure I understand your question correctly, um, you mean if we get an incoming call for,
Or an outbound call, any call like that.
well, okay, let me address it this way. So if we make an outbound call and we want to check to see what plan they have, um, we can tell them what's in their plan if it's on Medicare.gov. We can do that
See,
because that's actual information that's already out there. Anybody can go to Medicare.gov, type in a zip code, and look at all the available plans. So you can do that.
okay,
So that's the way to get around Googling it. Or Daniel
Right.
mentioned another method that you can actually go and look to see the information.
okay,
From a
good.
compliance standpoint, if you go to Medicare.gov, well, if the person tells you what plan they got, you can go to Medicare.gov without their claim number. Now they don't know if they got Humana Gold
Right,
or what level of Humana plan. You may need to get the claim number and then look at the plan number or the name on the plan, and then on Medicare.gov you can see which Humana plan it is they
right,
have to do the comparison to what it is you want to pitch or offer to them
okay.
or compare. So you can do that.
Okay, I want to be clear because the stuff on Medicare, that's just the same thing pretty much as like if I were to pull up the Cigna plan details. That stuff on Medicare.gov is pretty much that same thing. And I
Yes,
thought
but
that
I'm
I
telling you
could
from a
say
compliance
that.
standpoint how you won't be out of
Okay,
compliance by Googling
I'm fine with that. I'd love
their
that.
Blue Cross plan in Tennessee and reading them what's on the Blue Cross website. You can tell them, hey, I'm going to Medicare. Give me your zip code. I'm going to check your plan and compare it to what it is I want to tell you about. And then you let me know which one, if you think this is more beneficial than what it is you have.
And I can say I can say your plan is a $15 copay. This plan is a $5 copay. I can
Right,
give them all
Charlotte?
that
This is
Yeah.
what
information.
we do, right?
That's what we do.
Okay,
Um,
So here's a
I can I answer the part about
go for it. Go ahead.
the and I'll be real quick.
Mhm.
Now, if we
we're gonna
get
be
the
over quick. Right.
call, if we get the call from them about requesting information
Right.
on a
When
Medicare supplement, and we want to so we get the call saying
oh
Medicare supplement.
yeah, okay.
So this is live call, inbound call. That and this person is asking information on supplement, but let's just say they got a Medicare Advantage plan and they really want Medicare
Yeah.
Advantage. If they call back into us, we can do the same exact thing on Medicare.gov. The same exact thing if they call back into
But
us.
okay, so maybe when like if we get just a regular standard dialer call, the call's actually gone to them. Can I still pull up the Medicare.gov website and go over all that information to them with
And
them?
for their plan,
Yes,
yes,
as well as
Even if it's for Medicare supplement?
yes.
or the
I
other.
mean, she's saying that we do an outbound call on can you tell the person, explain to them what
Yeah.
benefits they actually have?
Yeah,
On their plan.
that's the
And then
first.
can I compare it to Cigna if it's on the Medicare.gov website?
Well, Cigna will be.
Yeah, right, that's what I'm saying. So I can do that?
Yeah.
So
How could I have misunderstood that?
I do that on the $1 too.
You
If they
do.
ask me to, yes, I do.
But you don't have them call back in if it's for a Medicare supplement?
Not if they
See,
are
I thought
asked.
that
So
they had to
only
call.
if it's on a
they
enrollment, is that right?
they don't have, well, this is the letter of the law on it is. You can't present them a Medicare Advantage plan unless they call back into you. So you can tell them the benefits of their plan. You can educate them on their own plan, tell them the benefits of their own plan.
Mhm.
But if they want to hear about other Medicare Advantage plans, they need to call back in to you. It has to be an inbound call.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
So, so
Even like,
I guess the reason why I say call back in is because I can tell you about your plan all day, but I want to tell you about what it is I want to offer to you.
Well, see that's the big thing, which is why I mentioned before of feature function benefit is we do want to get to a point where we can tell them about their plan, but I've heard people tell people about the plan without knowing what the person needs.
But I understand what you're
So
saying.
so the person is very, most people that we talk to, because we're doing replacement selling, they live in a very balanced universe. Their plan's working. Is it the best for them? They don't know because it's working. So what you need to find out is, where are the deficiencies? What's wrong with their plan? So if you're looking at their plan and you're telling them your plan offers this, your plan offers this, your plan only offers for the inpatient hospital. I don't know if you're aware of this, but your plan is a $500 it's a $500 copay day one. Were you aware of that? How important is that to you? You know, so you want to find out as you're going through their benefits is a great thing, because going through their benefits, you can find out which one of those benefits concern them. And for you is where voice inflections come in. Wow, $500 copay, 1 day in the hospital. Did you know that? All I'm doing is telling them their benefits. But what I just did in that person is I just threw their balance off, because for them they're going, oh wow, that is a lot. And so once you find out what their hot button is, if you know they're a diabetic, whatever case may be, and you know that they're paying such and such for their diabetic supplies, now once you've thrown them off balance and you made a big deal of that thing, and especially if they go, oh wow, is that what it cost me? Then you go, yes, and I'm looking at your benefits here, and if you go out of network, it's up to 40% coinsurance for it. Did you know that? You'd have to pay 40% of the cost. And that's when you can, and that's at the point in which you can go into. Now there are other plans out there that might be able to better fit you. I represent several plans. That's why you called into the hotline today, or if it's an outdial call, whatever the case may be. I can't talk about those other plans with you unless you call me. It has to be an inbound call. I do think there's something that might be able to fit you better, but again, I can't compliantly go into any of those benefits unless you call me back. So if you call me, go ahead.
So you can't even say, did you know there's plans in your area that might provide you dental benefits?
You can
Or
be.
you can't.
Or a zero
you-
copay,
or-
there's a plan in your area that has, would it, like I hear you say, would it be beneficial to you to have a zero, for, if the plan had a zero copay? Can you say that?
You can be very vague. You can't be specific about any plans. You can't even say it's a Medicare Advantage plan. You can't go into
Oh,
that.
wow.
But you
But
can say there are other Medicare health plans that are offered
yes,
in your area
yes,
that I think might maybe have more benefits, be less expensive.
right. And the cool thing about that is when you're doing that, I would make it, you going back to voice inflection. I would go, Miss Jones or Mrs. Prospect. I know that $500 is a big deal for you. Now we can slow it down a little bit. Slow your voice down. I know it's a big deal for you. What I would do if I were you, I would call back into me. And if you do that, that allows me to go over and explain these plans to you. I can tell you about the other plans. I can't do it because this is an outbound call. Compliantly, they won't let me. But if you call back into me, and I suggest you do it today, because you qualify for some, you might qualify, whatever, you're being vague, you're not telling me anything specific. There's a good chance that there are some plans that are available to you. I can think of a couple, but I can't name them, that are available to you that would be a great benefit to you if that's really your major concern. Call me now and I'll tell you about them. So that way you can go into that transition to having that inbound call, assuming we're going to talk about Medicare Advantage with them. But that's when you have to use your voice inflections, because if you're going, oh man, that's terrible. Oh boy, pu that you. I mean, you can't bash a plan, but you can be very surprised by what they're telling you. The cool thing is, once you find out what they're, you have to sell to the need. You cannot present a plan to them, even if you were to get someone to call in just because they're curious, and you just start telling them, "Oh, let me tell you about this Signum plan. It's this, is this, is that, is that." So what? Like, no one cares. They want to know with them. What is it called? With them. What's in it for me? They need to know what's in it for me. So if you're going to tell someone about a feature, that feature has to have a function that benefits them. You can't just say this plan is awesome because it does all of this, or it has all of this. Who cares? So once you figure out in the very, very, very beginning what it is they need, so they call into that hotline. What are you concerned about? And you keep asking, and if you do, like Pierre mentioned before, if you find out what plan they have, which is very important, and you can go through those benefits with them with their plan, help them get a better understanding, you're gonna uncover a something that's not necessarily beneficial to them or not as comprehensive as they would like for it to be. Not always, because some people are going to have a great plan that's taking care of all their needs. But once you find that hot button, you have to identify their need. It's time to use that voice inflection to make them go. Because if you can get them off balance, then you can create a reason for them to make a change or a reason for them to consider a change. But if they're balanced and you're just like, well, I told them about the great plan, I don't understand why they didn't buy it. And they also had a need that you had never uncovered. So I'm saying, I've said it like 4 or 5 times, I don't know, because it's important that you sell to the need. It's very important, because that is the only thing that matters to them.
Okay, so just a few questions. So when we have the life lead incoming calls
Hmm.
that come in to the dialer, and let's just say we want to talk to them about health insurance
Hmm.
information. Like if we go like with a physical appointment, and let's say it's for MAPD, we gotta, or let's say it's for life, we gotta wait 48 hours, I believe, before we can sell MAPD or discuss MAPD. Is that the same with these calls that come into the dialer?
So if someone calls into a dialer, can we talk about health benefits? Let's say that we found out their final expense benefits are taken care of,
Or
or,
like,
or, or they're
or
not
let like
interested.
in the many of the cases I've had, they ain't got no checking or savings account. They think the premium is too expensive. Any one of the
Right,
various
right.
above things in
And
which
you want to talk
we
about
didn't
health.
hit a dead end, basically, as far
Right.
as I'm concerned. Or this thing is going to take a while for them to open the checking and savings account. Not anything immediate for me. So I want to see. Okay, well, let me see if I can offer them something health insurance wise.
Yeah.
So I mentioned, well, I'm also a licensed health insurance agent, and we help with individuals like yourself that might be receiving Medicare with benefits that can cover some of the out-of-pocket costs that original Medicare does not cover. Do they got to call back in?
You in order for they do not have to call back in order for you guys to, you can talk about everything we talked about before. You can't go specifically into a Medicare Advantage presentation unless they call back in.
But I don't got to
Now,
wait a certain amount of time, being that I just presented to them a life insurance.
no, you don't have to wait that certain amount of time. Now, you couldn't sell them life and health on the same, you couldn't sell them on the same day.
Right.
But as I understand it, and I will get confirmation on this.
Mm-hmm.
But as I understand it, if you talk to them about life and they're not interested, and you go, well, I also represent health companies, dental, whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
represent a myriad of different companies. What's your Medicare benefits look like? What's your current situation look like? They get into it, tell you what they have. Are there any major concerns that you have there? Da 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 da. Let me take a look at your plan here. Da 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 da. This is what I found here. Okay, and wow, woo, whatever case may be, you go into your show. Now, if they want to do something, now if you sold them life before, you have to wait for 48-hour cooling off period in order to sell them another product.
Okay, so it's
Because
if we sell it.
if you sell it,
I thought the fact of us just presenting it is what I was under the impression of.
I'll get confirmation of it. As I understand it,
Okay.
if you're going in you're going in for any reason other than a straight Medicare Advantage appointment, or phone call. If it's an appointment in the house and you present it to them, you can go to the other product. You don't have to wait 48 hours if you didn't sell them anything. But
Really?
of course, you got to wait 48 hours just because you have to wait 48 hours, or they want you to wait 48 hours unless the client waives that 48 hours. In which
Mm-hmm.
case, you can, you know, do the presentation the same day.
Okay.
But as I understand, it doesn't matter if the client wants to waive the 48 hours or wait 48 hours. You can't sell a life and a health product or a life and a Medicare Advantage product on the same day.
I do know that.
Yeah.
But I thought the presentation also. But nonetheless, that's not really. I was just curious if you did know that. And then, so you're saying that if they call in the incoming calls for the Medicare supplement, we can discuss Medicare Advantage in general, and they have to call back in for specifics on that call.
Right. Now
Okay.
we can't say Medicare Advantage or I'm going to take, but you
Well,
can
like I
go.
mentioned earlier, Medicare health
Right.
plans offered
Right.
in your area,
Right.
which we know if they hit the button for Medicare supplements, but they got a Medicare Advantage, and they are getting LIS once we check their claim
Mhm.
number, they're probably going to go to another Medicare Advantage. They want to
Right.
have monies for a second.
Right. Right. And
So we can, oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
We can refer to it as a Medicare health plan, but we can't refer to it as a Medicare Advantage plan. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes. So the easiest thing is just to say other plans.
Mhm.
Um, just be very. You cannot be. You do not want any way when you get caught in the you led me not led me, but you were talking about a Medicare Advantage plan. So if you leave it vague and broad rather,
Mhm.
and go, there are other plans that will probably benefit you. I'd love to tell you about them, but I really can't go into detail unless you call me back. I know it's a little bit of a hoop you have to jump through, but it's the government. What can I say?
Mm.
you know. But if you call back into me, I think we can probably get a good fit for you. So just that kind of thing.
Okay.
Um,
But we can mail them anything if they ask for it.
we can mail them, but we won't. That's another thing. I'm glad you
I
said
know
that.
you don't want us to
Uh,
mail things.
we do not want to volunteer to mail. We want the mail to be something that they request. And here's the thing, I've heard a lot of people request mail, and I got to tell you the reason, or say, well, I'll mail you the information. What happens is when you're the client's over here and you're over here, and sometime, and in order for us to actually get a sale, we both need to be here. So if you're over here, client's over here, sometime that client gets to about right here, and you're right here, but you run into the client gets silent, or you run into a little bit of a wall, or you're not sure what they have, or you're not sure you know how to move forward as far as the next benefit. I've heard a lot of people go, well, I'll tell you what, I'll send you some mail, and then once you get it, give me a call, kind of thing. Well, that is the biggest cop out ever. And if you, I'm telling you, when you're on the phone with someone, you got a living human being on that line. They're interested enough to listen. They didn't say I press one to tell you to go shove your head in an outlet or whatever it is, or stop calling me or whatever it is. But this is someone who's actually listening. And sales, you have to continue to fight, and so you can make it to the next round. And so sometimes you get to that stop and you go, well, I'll tell you what, I'll send you some information. Well, let's keep looking, and you can always do you can always test them out, feel them out, figure out where they are. Um, is there anything that would keep you from moving forward with this today? Is there anything you concern, anything I didn't cover? If the person's silent, they didn't say anything, but they were asking questions before and you got to a point. Was there anything that do you feel like I missed? Is there anything else you need me to cover for you? Just to kind of test them out. One of the big things that I've heard when you have someone call in, well, excuse me, before you go into the enrollment, especially with the HealthSpring enrollment, as I heard people ask the question, do you want to enroll in this plan today? And that's a terrible question as far as the first question. Do you want this? Because you got to understand, for these people, and you guys have done a great job of selling plans, even asking that question. But there is a better question, and there are better questions. One of the better questions that you can ask someone is, so Ms. Jones, do you want to take advantage of these savings? When would you like to take advantage? Would you like to take advantage of these savings today? Now, the answer to that question is yes, and you go, awesome. Well, we're going to do that by enrolling you in the Cigna Health Spring plan.
What if it's
No,
technically no savings?
or
Well, I'm just saying.
whatever the benefit is. So if the
Okay.
benefit is dental, would you like to take advantage of these dental
Okay.
benefits?
Okay.
Would you like to take advantage of these dental benefits today, or when do you think you would want to take advantage of these benefits? I wouldn't ask when, but I would say, would you like to do it today? Now, if
Hmm.
they say yes, I say, great. What we're gonna do is enroll you in a Cigna Health Spring plan. Now, in order for us to do this enrollment, you're gonna have to, whatever the verbiage is, whatever you go into your deal from there.
Right.
Um,
I will share this, and I did share this with you, but I'll share it with everybody. One of the things that I have not been able to get excited about, and I'm glad you brought up about us maybe covering their benefits in detail more, because maybe if I cover their benefits in more detail, I might can find that hole. But one of the things that I have not been overly excited about is I have not been able to find as many, I'll say, noticeable differences between plans and markets. Um, and I'll just use Charleston for an example, the MAPD
yeah.
market. Um, you look at CIP, you look at Humana, and it really just depends on the client,
Mm-hmm.
their health, and where they go. So the copays to the doctor are less with Humana than Care Improvement Plus. if it's a non-dual plan.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you got chronic or the regular MAPD, it'll be cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But Humana has a premium, CIP doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Humana's HMO, CIP's PPO. Um, Humana doesn't participate with MUSC.
Right.
So it really sort of depends on that client and their cup of tea.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I will say that one of the things I probably can do a better job of, and this won't be really locally because I can identify that,
Right.
but on the phone is extracting more information and talking about their plan more to see if there is a huge difference or that one noticeable difference I can find. But that's been the one frustrating thing for me
Mm-hmm.
on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
that is
It's
I
not a big
haven't
enough
seen it.
difference.
It hasn't jumped out at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if when you go from like one MAPD to another MAPD in other markets, because like for example, you take upstate and they got way more
Right.
MAPD companies than we have here.
Right.
So I know what it is here. And in some other markets like Houston, they got a bunch of different MAPD plans.
I'll tell you, in the Atlanta market, I was doing a side by side comparison. This is why I suggest doing a side by side comparison. Even if you're not telling them about a new plan,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna be more excited about it if you look at the two plans side by side and you see the big gap.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at one play in Atlanta. I think it was at Atlanta. I was at Cigna Health Spring. I saw that in the benefit, um, summary of benefits, it said that saves you. It will reduce the cost of your Part B premium up to $71. I think it was, or something
Yeah.
like that. And I went, that's a pretty big deal.
That's a huge
That's
deal.
a pretty big deal. I didn't even know it.
Is that
Wow.
Um,
advantage only plan?
I say again.
Is that an advantage only, no
I
MAPD,
think that was
just
the
MA?
MAPD.
Wow, because
If
I've had
if
And,
that
and
if I'm not
case.
mistaken,
and
we
even with the MA only plans, you don't see the Part B buy down
You do
anymore.
in some states.
Right. But in general, like how prevalent it used to be,
Yeah.
and I haven't ran across many where there are, at least that I can
Mhm.
represent.
but doing the analysis like that, even I even saw that a plan, I think it may have been Humana, I'm not 100% certain, but they had a huge first day hospital copay,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the Cigna Health Spring had, I think it was like $100 something, whatever the case may be, per
Mm-hmm.
day. For some people, that $500, $600, whatever it was, not a big deal. But for some people, and the average hospital stay is 2 to 3 days or 2 point something odd days in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
that that once you add those 2 days together, it comes out to less than what that person is going to pay for that one time being there for 24 hours, then it's more beneficial to them to have something
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be on a daily rate than up front. And some people are scared to death of that inpatient hospital copay. They pay $10 more to go to the doctor to know that they wasn't going to get hit with a $500 bill of any
Mm-hmm.
kind, to be honest with you, because
Or
they
even
don't
a
have.
monthly premium they would
Yeah,
pay.
yeah. So doing that side by side comparison, even though you can't rattle them off like you would like to, but it starts to make the fibers or something start to trigger in your brain, and where you go, oh man, here's opportunity. If I can get them to call back in, I got them. And the only thing you can do, since the regulations say we can't do a benefit analysis on an outbound call, is use your voice inflections to give them the impression that there is something that they need to know that you know. And the only way for them to figure it out is to call you back.
Okay.
And really, that's the psychology of it. We have to use those inflections in order to get them to call back to us.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we're just gonna say, well, if you call me back, I'll tell you more. And the person's gonna say, well, you know what? It's not that bad. I'm good to go. But if you go, oh man, I'm telling you, today is your lucky day. You are blessed because you called me. Let me tell
Yeah,
you.
that's your line.
Yeah, you are blessed. But that kind of stuff
But
works.
sometimes that be true though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you
yeah,
get them boys extra help and they
And
paying
they
their
tell
Part B
you that
premium,
you're they're
and you get
blessed.
another $1,200 a year in your check.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
a big deal.
That's a huge blessing now.
Yeah.
The last thing that I'll hit on the voice inflection side of it is when you're leaving voicemails. Your voicemail. So sometimes you're gonna get hot leads. I've seen that people have called, left messages, didn't get a call back. Those voicemails, that is an opportunity you can sell a product on a voicemail. And the way you sell a product on a voicemail is this: you don't go into all the benefits. You say, "Mrs. Prospect, this is Charlotte Underwood with American Benefit Services. You spoke with such and such earlier, and she explained your situation to me. And I gotta tell you, we have to talk. Give me a call back as soon as you get this message. I think we can help you." You're gonna get more calls back like that than if you go and say, "Well, this is da 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 da. Call me back at your earliest convenience." You have to create for them using your voice inflection, your speed of voice. Create for them such a pull to call you that that's the first thing they do is call you. And they go, "Yes, Miss Underwood, you called me." This same person that wouldn't call you back. "Yes, Miss Underwood, you called." So just it doesn't have to be that exact line.
I'd
You
like to
say
hear
what
that again, though.
um, hello, Mrs. Prospect. This is Charlotte Underwood with American Benefit Services. You spoke with Octavia, and she told me about your situation. You have to call me. I think we can help. Give me a call back when you get this message. Da 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 da. Leave your number, whatever case may be. But whatever it is, you add in that you have to call me. Absolutely, we're gonna take care of you. And will that always work? No, but it's going to work more often than the regular standard voicemail stuff. I left you a message and I say, "Charlotte, call me as soon as you get this." You're probably not going to wait until after you finish supper. You're probably going to call me immediately. well,
Either that or Charlotte will be like,
well,
"Oh,
maybe you'll finish
I'm
supper.
fired." She said, "Daniel would never sound like this. I'm fired. I ain't calling her back."
Come in tomorrow. She threw all her computer down. I just want to tell you did a good job yesterday. I'm sorry that you ruined the office, but
I think that the one thing that I did like with what you just said is when you said you have to call me and you do it happy like or whatever important.
Happy like, yeah.
Um, people hear you have to, not you need to or you ought to.
Mhm.
We have been raised all our life to do what we've been told we have
Mhm.
to do.
Mhm.
So that might help.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just going from my own point of view.
you're 100% right. They
Or
have
they be like, "Oh man, what did I tell Octavia? Man, boy, what did I tell her? Let me
Right.
call back."
Right. But the thing about it is, there has to be an immediate call to action. You cannot leave it floating out there. Well, whenever you want to move forward, whenever you get a chance, whenever. No, it has to be. Wouldn't the last close that I think is the most awesome close? I think this is one of the most awesome closes, and it is so non-threatening. Is, "Won't you give us a try?" That is such a non-threatening position. "Won't you give us a try?" And if you say, "Won't you give us a try," and then say absolutely nothing after that and wait for their response, more often than not, that answer is going to be, "I guess." There's nothing wrong with trying, but if you have to, now there's a point in the sales process where you have to absolutely say nothing and wait for them to talk. And they will sell themselves. It's almost a battle of wills, and it gets kind of fun because we both can sit silent and see who can go through this awkward period the longest and survive. But they will more often not say, "Okay, well let's give it a go." But that is the absolute close. But every step of the process, you have to be able to fight to hang in there one more round. And it's important because if you can last all the rounds, and the whole process of replacement selling is how can I get this client unbalanced enough to make a move? Because there are a lot of people who are going to look at you and say, yeah, that might be better for me, but you probably had it sometime. But going through changing plans, that's a lot of work. And then what if the doctor don't take this, and what if the pharmacy don't do this? So it's all they've had a bad experience, or they know someone's had a bad experience. And a lot of that is because they didn't use the evidence of coverage like they were supposed to, because they made a change at the end of the month and didn't notify their pharmacy that they have a new plan. Pharmacy told them, "No, I'm not going to take this." And they said, "If I don't get my drugs, I'm going to die because I need that miracle marijuana." You know how it goes. But, but
Yeah, you heard me.
I heard Pierre on that talking about that too.
But that actually might be a sale though. That lady was cutting up though. I had to mess with her. She was cutting up though.
Okay.
But that but it's important that you throw these people off balance. I mean, there's so many things you can do with just controlling. The only control you have, obviously, your knowledge and what you know. But as far as a tool, body language is really valuable. When you're out there in the field, you're sitting in front of someone. There's so many things you can do to communicate with them. When you're on that phone, all you got is that voice. So if someone says to you that's too much money. That's expensive. You can say $30 is too much money. And you know what that does if you break it down like that? That immediately causes them to defend their point, but they want to defend their point, but not offend you. So this person goes into, well, I mean, it's not. Sometimes people are gonna go, yeah, you're gonna have some
Right,
people who are
right.
exceptions to the rule, but when you break it down like that, well, I mean, 30, you
Or if you
mean
can show them that they're gonna get the money either way.
that's
So if
true.
you pay the 30, you can pay the 30 up front, or you can pay more when you go to the doctor if you paying
That's
zero,
true.
more if you go to the hospital if you paying. Because that's how it seems to
Hmm.
me.
Yeah.
The money works out where you're paying it either way.
Yeah.
Right.
It's, do you want the risk to pay more when you do need the services, or would you rather pay less now?
Right. Right. That's really important. And that I think that comes down to what is it called? Price versus cost. Sometimes, because some people are like, well, that price is lower, so I want to get it, but in the end, it might cost you more because of the gaps or because of the quality of the product that you bought. So you could be selling a Cigna HealthSpring plan, and if you really, I mean, if it comes down to, so you've done all this stuff and you fought, and now you're still you got another round because they're still on the phone. You can come to this. All right, so the plan you have right now, I'm not saying that you have to do this, but I'm giving you an example. So the plan you have right now, yes, it is $0 a month, and yes, this Cigna HealthSpring plan is $15 a month. So I know the price is higher, but I have to ask you, are you more concerned about price or are you more concerned about cost? You know what they're gonna say? What's the difference? Because they don't know. You can say, well, the difference is, and you can go to the Sigma, the HealthSpring, the value proposition, which is how their doctors work and what their doctors do in order to keep you healthy, and how they compensate their doctors more, and their doctors have to do these 360 evaluations that do all this, and what's going to happen in the long run is going to cause you to be more healthy, and it's going to cause you to live longer. So it costs less to pay $15 more a month. You can get the plan that's 15 with a price of $0 a month, but if you really are considering the cost, and I would say that it's worth $15 to live another 10 years, wouldn't you? Well, this is the plan that is going to be more likely to help you do it. So if you just keep fighting and fighting and fighting until they'll stay on the phone, keep fighting. I mean, because it's so hard to get a prospect who's actually interested. So keep fighting and use those things: value versus cost versus price, and those voice inflections of, oh man, wow, did you know? This is gonna blow your socks off. You have to pay $500. Did you know that? And they don't know their benefits that well. I guarantee you, they're
Nah.
gonna be as surprised. They're gonna respond the way you lead them to respond, as far as the impact of the next benefit or the previous benefit that you told them, based on your inflections and your excitement or your slower pace. So use all those things, and as you listen to your calls, when I get these calls out to you, listen to them. And not listen to them and just go what I buy from me, but listen to them and go, man, if I had said that a little differently, not even what you said always, just if I said that differently, would it have made a bigger impact on that person? And sometimes that answer is going to be yes. But that's it, guys. You guys are doing a tremendous job. I just want to throw out a few pointers out there that I think will be helpful. Some things that I've learned along the way, and it's still learning and still trying to really master those things. But when you listen to yourself on the recording, you really start to go, man, I can just, you've all heard a great storyteller, and they're up and they're down, they're excited and they're engaging, and you're like, man, tell me more, tell me more. And you've all had a teacher who was like, okay, class, today we're gonna
Well,
turn
I know I got
to.
some calls on here. Well, I was like, man, look here.
I know, I'm scared.
But that's it, guys.
At least send us like one good call, too, man.
That's what I'm
Don't
thinking.
send us all at once, but we just come back from lunch and we didn't eat. We like American benefits. So, yeah.
All right, quiet.